Good evening, everybody. Call to order the May 6th meeting of the Conservation Advisory Council. Welcome all the people on Zoom and our guests here. And our town council, liaison. Okay, first of all, there was only 4 people here for the last meeting, so us 4, do we have minutes okay for the last meeting? Okay, I move that we accept the minutes of the meeting. Everybody who was here, raise their hand. Chris. That's it. Okay, wetlands. First one we're going to do is a nice one. I consider it a nice one. Open. We got 2 today. Oh, great. Matt, you just want to give us a short summary on this one?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thanks. This is, let me pull it up here. It is Brett and Brad Copens out on Little Ram Island Drive. Basically existing single family dwelling, accessory garage with a living space in it, swimming pool and deck and whatnot. The existing house and a portion of the existing house and the existing deck are within 100 feet of the on-site wetlands. So to remove them is going to require a wetlands permit. All of the new construction, everything on site is coming off. New construction, a new house, swimming pool, accessory and decks and patios and all that kind of stuff. Everything else that's going back on site is going to be over 100 feet from the wetlands. They are going to be proposing pretty much all of the 75-foot zone. That first, the vegetative buffer is going to be replanted as a non-turf buffer. So native, saltwater wetlands plantings in that first 75 feet, with the exception of a small walkway that leads out to the existing walkway that leads out to the existing dock. So, for the most part, it's kind of like an ideal wetlands application. Really, the whole reason we're here is just because they're getting rid of pre-existing stuff within the regulated area.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, it's basically a demolition, getting everything out of the adjacent regulated and 75 foot. So
This is what we want.
This is what we want. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the.
This is idea. This is a model that we should use for everybody. Put in a new septic system, IA system. Everything here is good, perfect. So, anybody have any comments on it? Otherwise,
I have a couple of questions,
yes, sir.
probably for Matt. There were a few things referenced in the DEC permit as far as the approval was based on a drawing, page 1 at 12/12/24 and page 2 of 1/22/25. And the small in the small packet, really hard to read, but on this larger plan, the date on here is 4/11/25. So it looks like it's the same as the DEC approval, but I can't really tell. So I'm just wondering why the date is different on this one. The DEC approval on SEER says 1/22/25, which is what they referenced.
Mhm.
But this big drawing,
Yeah, that 1/22/25 was the proposed site. And that was a second plan because the DEC had asked us for which trees were going to be removed. So that showed those trees with the red circles and the line through it to show which trees were being removed. That was that 1/22/25 plan.
yep,
The December 12th, 24 plan was the predecessor to that. And that plan is, let's see, that's basically the same plan as the wetlands permit plan that was submitted to the town. It's a new plan because it's for a different agency. You've got slightly different information on it. And so the plan that's been submitted to the town is April 11th, 2025. And it incorporates all those things from that first DEC plan and the second one. If you see the vegetation plan, on that, April 11th plan has those trees to be removed.
Yeah,
That was the second plan submitted to the DEC. And
Okay.
then the other information was on the first plan that was submitted to the DEC. Basically, what I did was I consolidated those two plans so that the plan that's being reviewed by the town includes all the information from the DEC, from both DEC plans, so it's in one place.
okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Then I think what I would suggest also, the test well is, I mean, if you scale it, it's 25, 30 feet upland from the house.
Mhm.
And now, the test hole says that the water is at 9 foot. So I'm thinking the closer you get to the bay, closer to the surface, the water is going to be. So I think what I would suggest to the board is that we should ask for, specifically mention on the permit, no dewatering. So if there's some issue where they're digging the pool or they're digging the foundation for the house, that if they hit water, then I'm not sure what the procedure is for the wetlands, but I think they would have to go back to the town board for a revision. But as far as I know, they may have changed it, but as far as I know, they don't allow dewatering.
Right.
We're in the process of changing
Right, and I just wasn't sure where that was in the process.
that.
So again, the test hole is way upland. And the other thing I saw on here was that there's an 8-foot fence on the property line. Is that this property owner's fence or is that the neighbor fence? Because that shouldn't be there. You shouldn't have an 8-foot fence on the property line.
Let's see.
And I went out there today and there's a row of trees with a short fence on the house side that we're talking about. But on, it looks like on the back side, there is an 8-foot fence running basically the whole.
That's along that modern house, the new house?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it looks
Yeah,
like
that's on the,
these guys planted trees and put some fencing around it.
Mhm.
So that would
yeah,
be,
on the inside of the property is that 4-foot fence. On the outside of the property is the 8-foot. I can check to see who owns that fence and if it predates the Copen zoning of this property. Yeah, I can check on that and clarify it for the board. Yeah.
well, even if it predates, it's still not legal.
Well, if it predates it, meaning it's the neighbor's fence.
Well,
If
yeah,
it's the
if it's the
neighbor's
neighbor's
fence,
fence,
it's the
then-
neighbor's problem. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those were my points.
How deep is the swimming pool, the new one?
Let me see if I've got that. Hold on. I don't have the total depth of the pool, but the patio and decking is at about an 11-foot elevation, 10.5-foot elevation. So with groundwater where it is at maximum groundwater elevation is going to be at about a 1 foot in this whole area. That would limit it. We got to be 2 feet above groundwater, so you're going to be limited to about a 6-foot, give or take, water depth inside the pool.
Right, okay.
The first thing we should do is indicate the test hole closer to the building.
No,
You want to do that?
no, I mean, the purpose of the test hole is to get some idea where it is.
Exactly.
If you drilled 10 holes on here, you'd probably get 10 different numbers.
Right.
But the fact is, if you're building a house that big, I'm thinking they're putting a full basement under it. Or is it, I don't think it's a crawl space.
So
So you got to excavate,
yeah, you have to.
There's going to be a certain amount sticking out of the ground. So you're probably going to go 6 feet in and then you got to go another foot or so for the footings. So you're going to be digging 6, 7, 8 feet down. You're going to be real close. And again, if they dig the hole and they're seaward of that test hole, they may have.
They might get something in there, depending on the tide.
So again, it should just clearly state on the permit, no dewatering, because sometimes there's confusion. So then you'll go out there and see pumps running.
Right.
Indicate on permit that no water is allowed.
The 12-foot finished floor, so that's new, on the new house,
That's to the elevation.
yeah. And that's in the,
So
and that's about in the
That's,
Nine, eight to nine zone.
Yeah.
that one, and then two.
Matt, how much above the highest groundwater they gonna be putting the footings for the finish, for the full basement?
I don't have that. I'll have to get that from the architect.
Okay,
But if the town, I mean, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember if the code says yet, and I think Al just indicated that they're working on it. You know, limitations, obviously there's limitations on the swimming pool. It's got to be 2 feet above groundwater. For wetlands applications, you know, the house doesn't require a wetlands permit, so I think that's an important thing to keep in mind here. So this is just a house permit as on any other piece of property. So, you know, we can get the town information on it, but that's a building department thing. That's not a wetlands thing.
well, it'd be better at the house, get as high as you can above the groundwater, because it does push in over there.
Yeah, and we know the sea rise we have all the time is adding up.
Yeah.
Subsidence on the property.
Well,
When you put that extra weight on
The
it.
ground there is, it's like heavy clay by where the water is, hard marl, and then it gets into sand, right about where the water table is. So what would happen is if it pushed it in, it would stay there for a while on top of that clay. It would be a problem.
We want to add anything for that, you think, or just that the building department?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their rule is above groundwater, but I mean, like, Matt, they probably follow the same thing as the septic, highest expected groundwater. Try to stay 2 feet above that.
As far as the swimming pool, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
Foundation.
for the floor height in the basement.
Yeah, I don't think we have to indicate that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and for the basement, I mean, you've got prudent design, you know, really, I'm of the opinion that just as smart design, you shouldn't be designing into groundwater because you're looking for problems.
Yeah.
On, you know, on the building itself and the use and the function of the building. So that'll be up to the architect and their structural engineer as to where they want to go with that. I've had a lot of times people in the past will do several test borings, like the test boring on our plan is more to see where groundwater is and to see what the soils are for the purposes of sanitary design and stormwater design. When these guys are designing the house, they're going to be doing a different kind of test hole in all likelihood, where they're doing blow counts and bearing capacities of the soils in the areas around where the footings are going to go, because that'll tell them how wide of a footing they need to design for and things to that effect. So there's other information that these guys will be getting as they're doing their work for their design that, you know, may be able to help, help them dial that in and keep it above any type of issues with groundwater. And to what Howard just said a second ago, not only groundwater now, but, you know, if they're in this house in 10 years and groundwater's come up 6 inches or 8 inches, they don't want to be, you know, short-sighted and end up having a problem, you know, a little bit down the road.
Right.
So what do we think? We put in the one that indicate that no dewatering is allowed. Anything else we should note specifically? Add another one, or just that one is okay?
Yeah, no dewatering, and I would just
Yeah,
pay attention to where,
they have to do that.
yeah, they have to do that, so. Other than that, it's beautiful.
I think this is probably one of the only ones we got that we didn't have to worry about. It did everything we really asked for. And it was great. I mean, even the vegetative buffer, I mean, what's there now is great. It's just gonna add to it. The only thing I saw that on the site plan, when I went down, there were a couple of new trees cut down around by the test hole. And there was something removed in the property there. I don't know if it was a shed or something. There's like what was set up there, but just to the north of the test hole. I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
It doesn't affect the wetlands, so I didn't
And
really.
those trees, I think those trees were marked for removal on this other plan.
Yeah,
They were tagged on there.
They're down already.
Yeah.
Well, they've been going a
Yeah,
long
I
time.
think they're- Yeah.
Yeah,
And keep in mind, a lot of these projects, they're gonna remove trees, what you might consider prematurely because of the DEC's limitation on when they can remove trees.
Right.
I mean, what is it, December 1st
yeah,
to
whenever
March
they-
1st or something along those lines?
March 1st to November 30.
Yeah, you can't take from March 1st to November 30th. So the
Oh,
only
you're
time
back.
you can take trees down is December 1 to,
March.
the end of February, the beginning of March. Yeah, so, a lot of people are going to be jumping on things in order to not get stuck on the tail end of permitting and not be able to take trees down.
These long-eared bats, are they the same bats we see all the time?
Yeah.
Or are they something different?
There's a couple different kinds of bats here, but
Yeah.
There might be new ones coming.
Oh, I was just curious, 'cause-
And never know what this environment that we're.
Bringing the Lone Star ticks up from Texas.
Yeah. So, I think we should make a motion that we, accept the permit with the one comment, and that's it.
Yeah,
Accept the-
sounds good.
Yes, good.
Second?
Oh, six.
Yeah.
6-0, so. Jessica got that one, that was a nice. Yeah, this was a nice plan. Now, come to yours. That's what we try to avoid a lot of things. But that's the truth, so see what we can do about it. Get rid of this. Next one is 19 West Wallen Drive. Rock is in the audience here, the north. That's good. Got Matt, who's who give us, I guess, let's get something straight. Quick summary on this one too, Matt, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely. This is Robert and Elizabeth Jeffy. It's an existing developed piece of property. It's a single-family dwelling, an accessory building with a garage and some living space in it, a couple of on-site sanitaries. I don't know, I forget when this one was originally constructed, but the the existing accessory building is as close as basically 68 feet from the nearest point on the wetlands, which is the bulkhead in the West Neck Harbor. It's got a septic system that's just to the north of the building. Then there's another single-story, single-frame dwelling further north on that into the property just beyond the 100-foot wetland setback, and another septic system for that building. Asphalt driveway runs down just north of the bulkhead. It's at its closest point. It is about 12 feet, give or take, from the bulkhead. Dirt and broken asphalt driveway. So all of that's going away. Within the first 100 foot, within the regulated area, septic system is coming out. The building is coming out, the deck, screen porch, that asphalt, things along those lines, power lines, all that's coming out of the 100 feet, the regulated area. There will be some minor regrading in the regulated area, which is basically to accommodate that building that's come out. The proposed work is a single-family dwelling, which is completely landward of the 100-foot setback. There is a waterside deck, a small screen room, covered porch, and a swimming pool, which are all either completely or partly within the adjacent vegetative buffer. So the swimming pool is completely within it. A small portion of the deck is, and about 2/3 or so of the screen room is within that regulated area. Everything over 75 feet from the wetlands boundary, which is mean height, which is the seaward face of the bulkhead. Grading at that point is it starts at about 12 feet, 10 to 12 feet, and then it goes up to about 14 feet as you get toward the house. Finished floor of the house, excuse me, is about an 18-foot elevation. And then the property continues to ramp up as you go toward Westmoreland Drive. There's a driveway is on the north side of the property. And then the house is designed so that it's, in essence, it's not quite, it's kind of cocked from parallel on Westmoreland Road, but we'll say it's basically east to west orientation. And then there's an L-shaped garage that comes off toward Westmoreland Drive. So it takes advantage of the fact that you've got the shape of the building envelope between the 100-foot setback and the 40-foot front yard setback, along with the 25-foot side yard setbacks for the principal dwelling. So the new septic system that serves this property is going to be completely on the landward side of the house. So it's 200 some odd feet, give or take, from the wetlands boundary. The well is going to be on it's on the northeast side, I believe it is, right by the 75-foot setback, so that we can get the minimum separation distance we need from that landward septic system, as well as the septic system on the adjacent property. We're going to be putting in stormwater drainage for a 4-inch storm. All of that stormwater drainage is located over 100 feet from the wetlands. Dry wells for the swimming pool over 100 feet from the wetlands. The driveway on the landward side is going to be gravel. Propane tank is on the landward side of the house. So, in essence, this project is, from a wetlands perspective, the removal of the existing accessory building and septic system within the regulated area, as well as power, the utilities, the asphalt driveway, and then the installation of the swimming pool and a portion of the deck patio, and a portion of the screen room within that regulated area.
All right, thank you, Matt. This is an interesting one because I think it's going to match the size of the house next to it, which is by the same owner. I don't know, it looks like, is this a spec project? Are they going to live here?
We're gonna live here, yeah.
Really?
In fact, the clients have spent a fair amount of time on Shelter Island. She grew up here, coming here with her grandparents, and they want to take their grandkids here, and they're building this house for their family.
Oh, good.
So there's no intention of making it a spec project or anything
Okay.
like that. They're very friendly with the neighbor, Don Regan, I think he's next door. They live in Greenwich, Connecticut, and they
Right,
want to spend their summers here.
very good, thank you. I had a couple of quick items and then we'll go into them. First of all, there's no house number posted. So if you go down and try to find it,
That's interesting.
and that's one of the things most of us know that you go to the next one and it's the next one down, but even I'm surprised there's no house number.
Yeah, I guess they could put a house number up.
Yeah, this could be, I think the town would like that for emergency service.
Yeah, no report.
It's recorded. It's recorded, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the first little item.
The other thing you'll notice on that street is that all the houses are, pulled as close to the street as possible. They're all set kind of at that same elevation. The current house that's there, I think at some point somebody told me was a fish house or used as a fish house back in the day. It's kind of carved into the existing hill. And if you look at the natural topography, that kind of contour and that grade that goes around, both of these structures that are gonna come down are pushed into this hill, and then there are retaining walls kind of,
Around them.
unnaturally pushing them in.
Right.
Our project will basically push the house up to elevation 18, which is similar to the other houses, towards the road.
Right.
And that existing natural grade, once that garage structure has been removed, will just naturally be filled in, you know, so that retaining wall and all that kind of unnaturalness would be gone away. Be regraded to, you know, to look like it was never there.
On the site plan, first of all, I noticed that it's all new bulkheading for this property and the next one.
Yep.
That was good. Everything in the water is dead. I think it's from the CCA timbers or whatever right now, you know.
Well, that dock had been dilapidated,
Yeah.
falling
Yeah, I
apart
have to
for
replace-
years.
I keep going after Costello and saying, you know, can we get something better than CCA? I mean, you're not allowed to use it as decking or anything on your house. On the water, they still use them,
Use it all the time.
and they can't.
It's called ACQ now, CCA.
It's not the CCA, which is
They
the
don't-
acidic.
Even make that anymore.
All the bulkheading has been replaced with that
Plastic sheet.
plastic sheet.
Plastic and it's just the poles that are all the CCA poles.
Yeah, I don't think they replaced any of those poles. I think they just replaced some of the structure. You mean
Maybe a couple.
the dock itself?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the bulkhead.
Oh, the bulkheading.
bulkhead, it's all new CCA, and there's nothing that we can do right now, there's no substitute, we can't go down to the Amazon and get the old wood, and we don't grow locusts here.
Oh, if somebody starts raising locusts for dog piling, it'd be a good thing to do. Yeah, they do great.
Put up the Christmas trees for artificial trees and start growing locusts here.
Yeah,
Great.
eventually someone will do that.
After it's all done, I mean, the Island Boatyard just did all their docks, completed. I don't think we're gonna have any, so.
You say the finished floor elevation's 18. I see the contour right in front of the front door is 12. So that means the house will be 6 foot up in here?
No, the existing contour of there's a 16-foot contour that runs around the existing, by the road. And that's really what we're gonna carry around.
So you're gonna backfill?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of soil from the
So
excavation.
you just keep it on site?
Yeah,
Right.
in fact, the existing, I think we're gonna wind up either at or above the existing crawl space of the existing house. Because we don't really need to excavate much. The footprint of the existing house is carved into the soil. And I think that's down at elevation. The existing house is at elevation,
So that's, yeah,
you know, there's a contour of elevation 6 that comes across the front of the garage. Elevation 8
right,
comes towards the back of the garage. And the existing dwelling, the main house that's there, is about elevation 11.5. So that's gonna be like, you know, we're gonna go a little bit deeper for our basement. But essentially, we're removing that, and then our footings can pretty much go right on that existing grade. Yeah.
so, yeah, see the 16 wraps around towards the swimming pool, then yeah, okay,
Yeah, that 16 actually meanders, if you look at it closely, it meanders around the whole front of the property.
yep,
And that's really what our finished grade will be around by the house.
okay.
Uh,
It kind of disappears from the swimming pool, but so the house elevation on the water side will be about 6.
Yeah, at the backside of the swimming pool, it's low, but
Right.
for the patio, it's gonna be 16.
There'll be steps down to the,
Yeah, you'll have
Oh,
3
okay.
rods down, so the
all
pool,
right,
the patio will be 17.5, then you'll wind up with the elevation of the swimming pool around elevation 16.
okay,
And that'll be the coping of that swimming pool.
all right,
Those are stone steps and a stone terrace on the back.
all right, okay.
One thing that wasn't shown is like a dry well down at the bottom of that hill. Or a drain. Just
Yeah, I noticed that
What
too.
is that?
It's a dry well. That area is very low. It's at
Yes.
elevation, I think, 5 or so. Yeah, 4 actually. I'm not even sure where that dry well is plumbed to or piped to,
You can see, I don't know, I just wonder if we,
but it's only at elevation 4.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just to pick up the water from running down that.
Well,
hill there.
right now, that garage gets flooded out. The neighborhood's, that existing garage in a big storm will get flooded out.
Mhm.
And they'd have, you know, on a coastal storm, they'd have some water in that garage.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you guys have all seen that happen over the years.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to have an existing structure there.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's close to water. Yeah.
Not very usable.
Test hole is open, the front there, again.
Have you put in the well yet, just to see if it's going to be good?
No, I don't think the well's been put in. They have
No,
an
we have
existing,
not put that in yet, no.
No, I
they have an
didn't see it
existing
there.
well there that they're using in that house. I mean,
Right.
Yeah,
I was just curious at the location where it is.
yeah, and I think the groundwater is somewhere around elevation 0.8. So
Yeah.
our footings should be about 5 feet above the groundwater. That's what they were next door.
The test hole, I think, said 13.7.
Yeah, that's from 13.7 from elevation 14.5.
Right.
So you do the math, it's 0.8.
Yeah, we also, when we were looking at estimating highest expected groundwater, you know, you're at about a foot, give or take, for the test hole. We pushed that up to 2 feet just to give ourselves a little bit of, to be conservative, give ourselves a little bit of a cushion there. And that 2 foot as a high estimate was brought in using test holes on the other side of the road, on either side of this property. So we've done several projects within a 10 lot radius of this one. So we've got a pretty good handle of where that groundwater's been. I do take the point of your question though, Petter, that the location of that well being a little bit closer to the harbor, ideally I'd like to have it right up on the road,
Right.
but we got to get the minimum separation distance. And if we're going to push the septic up to the road, something's got to give. And unfortunately, that something is the well. What we'll
Right.
end up doing is proposing a 5 gallon per minute well, a larger than typical holding tank for that well, so that we can just minimize the amount of impacts on this property and the other properties around it. The other property that's just to the northeast, its well is in that same general location. So we're gonna, we really got to make sure that these properties are managed properly so that they each have potable water for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And in doing so, that's limiting the amount of draw we can have at any given time on each of those wells.
Yeah, I would just think since you have 187 feet out on the street, maybe if you hug the septic to the property line, in case you couldn't get good water there, you could move the well over to, 150 feet down and maybe still clear the septic on the next lot, which hasn't been installed yet. So,
Yeah, we could, and I'm well over 150 from that septic. I mean, I've probably got another 20 feet. And like you say, we can even scoot that one a little bit further toward the road if need be.
Yeah.
So there are some modifications, some tweaks that can happen on these properties in order to steal a couple more feet from surface waters. What we'll probably end up doing is on either one of the two properties, put a test well in, make sure that we've got decent quality water, that we can get the depth that we want, or
Right.
that we need, I should say, that 10-foot minimum above the well screen, and then take it from there. Use that as our starting point. And if we have to shift the septics a couple of feet one way or the other in order to get the wells a few feet one way or the other,
yeah,
that's all part of the construction process.
okay, yeah, because most of Westmore, they try to put the wells out by the road just to get
Yep.
more water table.
Yeah,
Does that help?
absolutely.
The health department, though, Must have put them by the water, like across
Well,
from me.
yeah, no, that never worked.
Never worked.
So that's what I was saying.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a losing argument that we have time and
Yes.
time again. You know,
Yep.
it's we make the argument anyway, knowing full well we're going to lose it. But that's just kind of that's
Well,
that's where their line is. So
Yeah. Well, where the thing is, the septic flows towards the water. So
Right.
it's always, if you can get up ahead of it, that's always better. So,
That makes sense. So it does.
It just want to be mentioned for the
Yes.
record, my name is Ray Reynolds,
Oh,
the architect of the project. I did most of it.
thank you for coming. I'll beep as they go by.
She wanted that for the, I guess for the.
Oh, Jessica, yeah, of course, yeah, that's good. Okay, and so the driveway, we don't know what it is, and but the other thing I had, you're removing some trees that are in the wetlands, and that's against the code, basically.
That's why they're asking for it on the, it says part of the scope of the work is to remove trees.
Yeah, I know.
My question for that would be, when do they plan on starting this construction? Or destruction construction?
That's a good question. I mean,
Because they can't touch those trees between March and December,
yeah. So I guess they wouldn't be able to,
break ground, and
well,
you could do the demolition,
I
I
think
guess.
those trees are not in the way of the construction of the house.
So that's along your back DEC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so I think those trees could probably stay until, November or whatever it is. Those trees really have to come down because of
All the
the
driveways.
demolition of the existing structure and those driveway and
The roots,
retaining walls. They're all intertwined into those, the root system's all intertwined in the back of those retaining walls. And they're in the way of that demolition, so,
You just have to look at that.
yeah.
right.
so it has to be done, because the actual code, 129.3B says, unless it's diseased or something like that.
Yeah, they're not in great shape. I'm not a arborist,
The
but
one next to it is in worse shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Service yard.
I didn't walk all the way down
they're
there.
kind of grouped together. If you
It
look
looks,
at
it won't be in,
Yeah.
it's not impressive tree.
damaged,
No.
damaged trees for sure.
They seem to be putting that on every permit, the DEC, with the bat.
And
Yeah,
then,
so we're dealing with that on another project. We're not really sure what the requirements are because you're supposed to observe to see if there are any bats roosting.
You have to have a special pathologist to come and look and hang around and watch for them.
We're trying to figure out
Yeah.
how, so it doesn't necessarily say that you can't take them down, since you have to make sure there are no active bats or nests in those trees. So
Right.
that's what we're trying to
And
figure.
you have to do, you have to, you have to coordinate it real close to the time, like when he does the inspection, only have so many days to do the job
Yeah,
before you have to have it done
if you've
again.
got any feedback on that, I would welcome it for.
No, not really, it's just, it's,
how about you, Dan? We hit that at all with your tree removal?
yeah, I mean, it's basically, you have to make sure that you're not harming any bats.
Right.
Is basically what it is.
Yeah.
No bats can be taken, so if they show up and there's a dead bat on the ground, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
But other than that, if you get, proper procedure in place, you can still do tree removal.
That's the way.
You just have to call the DEC, and talk to them and get somebody that you are comfortable dealing with and get in contact with them.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm working on that project that Raymond was just talking about, and another one right down the road from it. And that is the problem that we're having: is the DEC is telling us one thing, Fish and Wildlife is telling us something different. We're reaching out to other environmental consultants to see if anybody's got some experience with this, and they're telling us a third thing, and everybody seems to be confused, might be the wrong word, but not on the same page. And the problem is going to be, it's the tree guy or the contractor or the homeowner is going to be, stuck with handcuffs on if somebody missteps. So, we've got projects that, the excavators are there burning diesel and we're trying to get things done. And we can't because, we can't get a straight answer from people.
Yeah,
So,
it's such a new law that you need to get in contact with the right people to help you through it. But I can.
but nobody
reach
wants
out
to
you.
actually answer the question.
They don't want to answer the question. That's the problem. They don't want to answer.
There is no right
Then
person.
they're liable for the action, so. Right. It needs to be in writing.
So. Anybody else have any?
I got a bunch.
Was there a vegetative buffer that you guys are gonna install between the bulkhead and that?
There is a landscape plan.
Okay.
That shows a vegetative buffer, I think Matt's gonna
See that one?
get that submitted.
It's on
He's
that.
got that landscape plan.
It's not part of the package. We didn't have it
The
yet
runoff's
when
there
we
today.
submitted the application
Yeah,
package,
it's
so
on
that
dirt
will be
there right
submitted.
now. But it's gonna be planted with, you know, native beach grasses.
Okay. Yep.
Non-mowable areas, you know, all within that 75 foot.
Yeah, usually they show us that.
Yeah,
We asked.
as always, it would be a good thing to do there, because you don't,
There's a landscape plan that's
right?
being submitted. We just received it, so. Yeah, you'll have that.
No fertilizer or anything like that.
No, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, I love to fish as well, so.
Yes.
That's what's good about Zoysia, you don't fertilize, you don't water it, you don't do anything to it.
It just stays there.
It stays there, and it even likes getting flooded.
Right.
It won't die, you know, it's pretty much like an alien grass.
And on this landscape plan, the majority of the 75-foot, the vegetative buffer is going to be, non-turf buffer, replanted with, appropriate wetlands area, vegetation. There's a small area on the, what would it be? I guess the northeast side, just where it comes out 65 to 70 feet from the wetlands boundary. But most of that vegetative buffer is going to be non-turf buffer, like 90% of that will be non-turf buffer. So, and kind of like that plan that we just looked at for that other property, there's a couple of small walking paths, 4-foot wide walking paths to get to the bulkhead. But other than that, it's not going to be turf. It'll be, natural native vegetation.
Yeah, so that's gonna be sent in,
Mhm.
the
Yep. Yeah, we
request.
just got it and I didn't want to submit it to you tonight,
Yeah.
at the last minute. So
Right.
we'll submit it to the town with the, the requisite number of copies and everyone will get copies of it.
There'll be a path to the top, to the existing.
Oh, sure, naturally.
Yeah.
Something maybe.
Won't be paved or anything like that.
Chris, yeah.
Got a few. Okay, number 18 on the wetland application, it asks how much of any natural vegetation will be cleared or removed. And it says they're gonna clear 26,000 square feet. 6/10 of an acre. Why are they basically scraping all property?
That's basically everything landward of, including the areas around the, that existing accessory building. So,
The demolition.
and that's a high estimate. I wanted to, be conservative on our numbers. So that whole area, because we're regrading a lot of it on the road side of the house to get that 16-foot contour to come around, the driveway, the area where the septic is going to be, the dry wells, all that stuff is all going to be disturbed. So, that natural vegetation, it's turf grass that we're talking about. We're not talking about, wetlands vegetation or anything like that. We're just, just the grass turf area that's there now.
So there's gonna be wire back silt fence somewhere?
Yeah.
The kid.
Wherever you look.
I'll tell you what.
Right there on the edge there.
Yeah, that should be,
Yeah, but the water's running this way. They need something out here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Doesn't show it yet, but yeah.
Yeah, it's on there. I think Matt's got it up.
the silt fence. Yeah, it should be on drawing C11 called out in green. And it
C.
goes down the side property lines along the waterfront and then back up that southwest property line.
yeah.
They're going.
Okay, so then the structure itself is gonna be 11,113 square feet with 5971 SFLA, so they're basically kissing that 6,000.
Yes.
And there's an area which is sort of concerning, is that over the garage, it doesn't show any access going up there, so that's not gonna be used as storage, it's gonna be totally unfinished.
Totally
No
unfinished.
pull-down stairway, no nothing.
We might have attic access or something for the cat.
So there, yeah, but
They know that they can't build more than the 6,000 square feet. So
same thing with the
that's the
basement.
game plan.
It says
Yes.
unfinished basement right on the plan,
Yep.
but
There's
We all
no
know.
intention at this point for them to finish any of that.
that's all I have.
Yeah, another thing, as far as like the clearing part, there's a really nice 1 foot to 18 inches of wall up top, so that was all farm. So that's another reason why stripping that whole area is important, just to preserve all that.
Just to-
topsoil. Yeah,
That's all I had. Thank you.
Only other thing I see is that, boy, you really used up the setbacks by the zoning board completely. In fact, on the first drawing, A001, it actually shows the front setback hitting the edge of the garage, but the larger scale plan shows it clear. I don't.
The A001 is a roof plan overview.
Mhm.
So you're seeing the roof overhang, you're not seeing the actual garage wall. But we did that intentionally to pull the house as far forward as possible. You know, we'd rather hit the front yard setback and get as much out of the regulated areas of the wetlands possible at 75 to 100 foot.
How about a 2-car garage?
Well, I was gonna say, instead of encroaching into the wetlands, I'd prefer to see them encroach in the front yard. Does a little less environmental
is
damage.
the entry to the garage from the street end, or come in
No,
from the
it's here.
side?
On the side.
The side.
Shows the underground,
Yeah, coming in.
oh, on that side,
The
okay.
driveway comes around,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
they want
sorry.
to see the garage doors from the
Right, right.
but it's a giant 3-car garage, and
Right,
they're encroaching into the wetland. Why can't they just push
yeah.
it? Like I said, I'd rather see them go to the ZBA and get a variance to encroach in the front, but you're here for wetland.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But you're pretty much,
we try to conform as much as possible.
Right, I hear you.
So
And it is better than what is there.
I don't know any zoning board of appeals that would give a variance to a new house anyway, right?
it
That's what I'm
would,
saying, maybe shrink it.
What's the,
That's a big ass house, huh?
Yeah.
Little teeny piece of property. Sorry for this one.
We didn't hear that over here.
Okay.
That's okay.
Actually, I have a
Yes,
question.
sure.
D2, justification for permit.
Mhm.
The code starts with, you can't if you don't have an alternative, unless you have no alternative. And then the answer to explain why this project does not or cannot be located is site and building design keep place pool and patio within the adjacent regulated area. That's a weird answer. The house is too big to put on the property without going into that area. So make the house smaller, make the garage smaller, and you're fine. But number 2 is not an answer to that question. Number 2 is just, I want to build a house, my lot is too small for the house, and I'm going to go against code. I have a problem with a lot of projects.
We had
that
that
take
issue
this.
with that house on Cheapwood Avenue that we made, make everything smaller so it would conform and be less intrusive. And I think we have an ability to ask that. Agree. So,
And it's, I mean, it's not that a 6,000 square foot dwelling is going to put any hardship, neither does a three-car garage. Store the third car someplace else, that's what I'm doing. And otherwise leave it in the driveway. But I don't think any of that is a reason why we're going in the buffer, not according to code. Basically, the application ignores the code and tries to push something that is not, doesn't support it with good reasons. I want is not a reason.
Mhm. We get that on all of these, so.
Yeah, well, that's why we're sitting
It's in
here.
trouble, that's why we're here.
That's why we're
add
sitting
up,
here.
you know, fortunately.
I mean, if we're limiting ourselves to make sure that there is no runoff and that we have
Right.
silt fence, then we might as well spend the time on something else.
Yeah, it is true.
yeah, I also think as a member of the board, you also should look at the advantages of the removals of the existing non-conforming structures. and, you know, septic systems that are leaching into the water and things like that, so.
And the
Lot of events.
driveway.
Yeah,
Any new house is gonna be required to have an IA system, whether it's 6,000 square feet or
yeah.
2,000
It's a
square feet.
benefit.
Quiet,
It's
yeah.
definitely a benefit.
Hmm.
But you've got a structure that's,
It's not mitigation, it's a requirement.
very close to the existing bulkhead.
Yeah.
That gets flooded, you know, that they're willing to remove, they don't necessarily need to do that, they could maintain what's there, right?
Right, but that's
They do
not
something.
reality. That's not why they built it, why they have the property. So that is also, and, I mean, it's a nice try for an argument, but ultimately
It's
it's
a
not.
conversation to be had, I think, so.
Well, we can just put it in as a recommendation, make the house smaller, pull it back out of the, as much as they can, and, you know, they're gonna get, they're gonna
I
get,
will say in reference to D2, okay, I'll write down, in reference to
the
D2,
town board's gonna look at it anyway, so.
right.
If you move the whole house back to the 40-yard setback here, would you still have the 25 feet enough to get out of the wetlands? I don't know if there's 25 feet there or not.
Well, I mean, the 100-foot, there's only a small amount of the deck that's
Right,
going
but
into
the
the
whole-
100, but
the
it's
whole
the whole
pool.
pool and everything's in the 75.
Right.
Like I say, you got this giant garage.
Mhm. I'm just saying if they move that back and turn the garage this way, but there's still not enough to get out of it. You know,
Yeah, you need to peel it back into the garage.
do you have 25 feet from that corner though, Ray? To the 40-foot front yard setback from the corner of the house?
We have 28 feet on that easterly side, or northerly side,
Right
right?
here,
No, we're looking at the south.
where the septic is.
Where the proposed
Yeah.
septic, that corner of the building.
You got 30 foot 4 inches to the corner of the building.
Right. So if that was moved,
Well, he's saying it's 30 foot this way. You're asking if it's.
Yeah.
If it can be pushed
yeah,
toward,
no, towards Westmoreland Drive.
migrate the house west.
That corner could be pushed about 15, maybe 20 feet. The only
Mitigate
thing
some
is
of the
then we're
encroach-
squashing the septic, because the septic's got to be 5 feet off the property line, 10 feet off the building. You're starting to consolidate things up in that corner and,
Yeah.
dominoes start falling.
Right.
You can rotate the building slightly, like with the pivot point being the garage, but I'm not sure that would really make anything better.
It looks like it would probably make it worse, because then
It could.
yeah,
Well,
then
bring the
the
garage out.
southeast,
and this-
if you skew the house that way, that's gonna push that into the wetlands.
Right.
Let's face it, the house.
Like I say, it's a
is
big
for
house on a small lot.
That's all it is.
Doesn't make a lot of
It's too large for the place, you know. I mean, it meets all.
You know
the
going in
setbacks.
that the lot is what it is.
So.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's squeezing.
Yeah, I mean, this is very similar to other applications that Matt and I have worked on.
Yeah, we complain about them all the time.
I know.
I mean,
It's a process, right?
I understand that, but, you know, I guess.
At least they have elevation here and it's not
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the water.
Exactly.
Looking at the mitigation and everything else, I mean,
Not much you can-
understand all the points.
Yeah, we're just a recommending agency anyway. So
Yeah.
the town board can listen or not as they choose. And I'm sure they're gonna scrutinize this one just as much as we are, so.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, we now have an environmental consultant on what is it, PWGC?
So now, another procedural question. Okay, so we're gonna make our recommendations to the board's gonna do whatever they're gonna do. If
Right.
the board says you gotta change stuff, so then you would have to redesign and then would get resubmitted to us? Do we get to look at it again if there's a change? Yes. Not usually? Okay, so, all right, so
The board takes from the planning department, from us, and I guess the new
If
environmental.
it's a redesign, if we wanted you to look at it, we would have you look at it.
okay, so you would have the ability to ask, okay, that was my question.
What is this little, like jog out? I don't know what this, coming off the corner here, is that a fence?
Just the fence.
Okay,
The fence is here.
all right, okay, there too.
Then the other question I had on the south side, that retaining wall, it's gonna go in there?
There's no retaining wall going in there. There was something in the,
There was something on here.
yeah, they're mistaking that for, I believe there's a green pivot hedge on our A001 that we showed. That goes down that whole side property line. It's this,
Yeah, the survey shows it as a
as a
retaining
wall, it's
wall, but it's not a retaining wall.
It was on one of these elevations.
yeah. I think it might be referring to this right here. See this green? On the survey, that shows as a wall. They might think that that was a retaining wall, but it was actually a privet hedge that we put in for the design.
No, I thought I had seen it here.
Really did that for the rendering, so that you're not looking at you.
Yeah, that drawing there, Chris, that
Oh,
A203,
okay, so
you can
that's
see
what
it down the side.
I was looking at
Yeah,
here.
it's just,
That's a hedge.
that's a hedge.
Oh, okay. That looked like a big giant
And,
wall.
and it's left over from the presentation. Really shouldn't even be there. That's no intention of putting a retaining wall all the way down to the bulkhead.
It's big. It's very,
That would be very big.
Yeah,
So,
the more I look at it, the more questions.
Let's see, that means the drawings are good. You have something to look at, right? The CAD system is really amazing. I mean, I don't want to say it, but I grew up with ink on cloth. So
it's changed a bit.
it changed a bit, yeah. And the problem with it now is that people don't check it.
Right.
When you used to put ink on cloth, well, you made sure that line was there to stay. You didn't want to take that off and do another line at all, you know, you checked all types of things. So it's a different world today, and I appreciate it. I know CAD systems and worked with them. It's good. Okay, anybody else have anything on this? So I've got 5 items. I'll read them again and we'll see if we, first one was the house number, which is, should be there no matter what, in town code. What is dry well or drain approximately 30 foot northwest of the bulkhead? We don't know.
that was an old one. I think it's clogged anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even look like it's,
It probably ran overboard, but
it's
I
got
don't,
dirt like right underneath the
Yeah.
ground, so I don't know if it's clogged or if it's just not.
yeah, it's probably filled in. Yeah, I don't think it's functioning.
We'll get an answer. That's all.
Yeah.
My third thing was no tree removal in the wetlands setback, that's disease, which is 129(3)B, but you can't remove it for any reason like that. The fourth thing is the vegetation plan required, which
Yep.
we're going to
That's
get.
fine.
And the fifth thing was in reference to D2, make the building smaller. That's what we said, you know, to fit in, so. Any question, or should we just make a motion to accept those 5 and submit them? And, we accept or deny the permit.
Well, I think we all agree that it should be revised
Yeah.
to gain more conformity, to get it out of the wetland.
So we didn't, that was the 5th item, to make the building smaller, with wetland. Adjacent vegetated buffer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just advisory, any. That would be our advice.
Okay, so that's the 5 items we'll put in here, and so we will accept if these are all taken care of or not accept. I mean,
We'll figure 2 if we want.
we're
Happy.
yeah, right, but no. So we'll say accept permit if above items resolved. Everybody agree with that? Have a motion on that? Agree?
Agree?
Great.
6-0. Okay.
Great, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
One, but that doesn't have much to do with that, but like the construction of the swimming pool, you know, that's right on that line. But since they're doing so much in the back, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you couldn't construct that right on a 75-foot line,
What's that?
the wall of the swimming pool. If you look at the first drawing, the 70-foot setback, the corner of the swimming pool is there. The only way you can do that is move it away. But if they're doing so much removal in the wetland, in the 75, that I don't think that they could probably build that wall there by digging down. See where it is on the corner?
Yeah, right where the 75 hits the corner.
Yeah. So. But I say that, but if they're gonna do all that demolition, all the equipment is there and everything, you would never notice it. They could put the forms up in there and take them out, you know, for the construction of the pool, so.
Usually use forms for a pool. You just shoot gunite on the mud.
Yeah, but on the mud, they actually.
They frame the wall of the pool with the rebar.
And
And
they shoot right against the,
they shoot right against the dirt.
Yeah.
yeah, like a frame, like even if they put the boards out, they'd shoot against that.
Yeah, or they could do that. They don't generally pour concrete like you do on a.
No.
It's sprayed.
Today it's all gone, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's that. Good. So, let's see what we have else on here.
And you know, the thing is, to do that pool, they're gonna over dig it anyway, so they're gonna be in the 75. Like,
That's what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
we could restrict that, but they're digging.
See what they come back with. I mean, I don't know what people just
yeah,
don't
but it's one thing
design.
when you're doing the demolition to knock a house down, and that's gone. Now, you know, once that's done, there's no more reason to continue to go into that.
Exactly. Inside area.
There isn't.
And the DEC permit says there's no construction in the 75 foot. Well, there will be.
Would have to, well.
So make them put that silt fence right on the 75 and they can't do anything past that.
Right. Or they're bringing the pool a little bit.
Well, like I say, they
There's
could
such a grade there. We washed the silt fence right over. it.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
it
it's all-
falls right down
Yeah,
there.
that stuff will get pushed right over. There should be hay bales and silt fence.
Yeah.
To back it up, you know.
Yeah, but they don't really like you using hay bales.
So I'm just saying there should be something there to.
Well, that wire back silt fence is usually pretty sturdy.
They just have to support it more often, probably.
Well, they have to, every time it falls down, they gotta pick it up.
We
Generally don't ever do.
Remember Walter Herman's place? We used super silt fence.
Oh, that was required by
Chain
somebody who
link.
did not know what they're doing.
Yeah, and that, all it did was, the silt fence itself still only lasts so long. But the chain link is still there.
It's a big problem. I just think these huge houses,
It's not suitable for that property. I don't think.
no, and the one next to it that's being built, I was talking to the builder, the contractor there. Nice guy and everything, he's just following the plans, it's not his.
Yeah, that's a guest house, but it's on a separate piece of property.
Yeah.
Yeah, they own both
And the
places.
permit, it says, does the owner have any other property? And it lists that as the adjacent property. So you got 1.9 acres on Shelter Island or something like that.
Well, there's 3 lots, because the lot with the dock, that's a separate piece of property. That's a separate tax map.
Yeah, that's the line across the front here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a separate parcel.
Is that part, that's not part of this one, then?
No, I think it's just
Right.
that one, because if you look at the map, the tax map,
That was an old road that went the whole length, wasn't it?
probably.
Yeah, that's why they
In
had,
the heights.
That's,
well,
yeah,
that's
it's
why
the
they,
same.
that was their
used to
access
be
to the
whole-
electric wires.
There was a road that went along the wall.
Yeah,
Right there, yeah.
water, the whole
Like
way.
this
up.
house is probably the last original.
That has it.
West wall,
Yeah,
Mhm.
except for the ball. the
yeah,
ball.
except for the farm.
The farm, yeah, that's a beauty. Right, so
Like,
got those 2 items. wetlands. The non-invasive species list is being updated with Roxanne, she's away, but she's been in touch with Tim Pertel and rewriting it and getting more plants in there, defining it, and trying to get pictures of the plants so we can see what it is instead of just having a name, you know. So Tim Pertel and Roxanne are working on that. Should have, he's actually made one list and he's added to it, so. Getting that as soon as possible. Quick. Business, I would just like to thank everybody who participated in the cleanup on Saturday. That was wonderful. I mean, I think that's a great island thing, you know. Highway Department, Ben Lewis was there working with everything. You know, Police Department, Chief Reed was there, Fire Department, and the Lions Club people were there. It was-
How many tons did they get?
I don't know, I didn't get the.
Bags and bags of
I
it.
don't know what.
It's like a lot.
Yeah. So you did pretty good a lot. And you know, and then they did that beautiful barbecue afterwards. I would recommend that everybody try to make the next one, if you can, you know, so the things come up. And old business, I don't have any, so I make a motion that we close the meeting.
Second.
Okay, 6-0. Okay. I extended the time by 10 minutes. It should have been out of the